Hi, everybody. Happy New Year. I'm Ella Fernandez, the head of connections at BTechly, and I'm thrilled to kick off something new for 2026. Our strategic partner, the Microsoft 365 Community Conference, is kicking off a series of webinars and web events to give you a sneak peek and a digital deep dive into this year's show content. Today is the first of our series with expert from Microsoft and Ernst& Young to talk about the new model for Copilot AI adoption, communities, champions, and events. We've got four incredible experts that are going to walk you through that new model today, as well as answer your questions live after the event. I just have a few housekeeping notes. If you want to ask questions and get answers in the live Q&A, you must register for the webinar. If you have not yet registered for the webinar because you're watching this live across our channels, then please go to btechly.com to register now, select today's webinar date, and enter your email address to complete your registration. Somebody will process your registration and get you into the Q&A chat at the end. Because it will not be live streamed. If you don't have a conference pass yet, please register now. You're going to get $300 discount code use N300 by January 19th. Again, that is N for Nancy, 300 by January 19th. Just go to nextgen365events.com to get your conference pass, and you can actually rub elbows with Dan, Amy, and other folks that are in today's conversation in Orlando, April 21st and 23rd. And now, without further ado, I'm going to turn it over to John Moore.
Thank you, Ella, and welcome everyone to our session today on driving Microsoft 365 Copilot adoption with all of the great features and technologies in the Viva Engage product. My name is John Moore. I'm a Microsoft MVP and an enterprise architect at EY, and I'm joined today by two of my colleagues at EY, Amy Dolzien and Lee Reed, as well as our good friend from Microsoft, Dan Holme. Everybody's getting on stage here. And we're going to start out today by just doing a brief intro. And we're going to go starting with Dan and end with me to do a little bit about ourselves. And if you are doing something presenting at the M365 Community Conference, if you could share a little bit about that as well, and then we'll get right into the session.
Awesome. Hi, everybody. I'm Dan Holme. I am a product leader on the Engage team at Microsoft. My team specifically is responsible for events in Engage, a new set of capabilities we'll be talking more about at the Microsoft 365 conference, and that you'll have in your hands around the same time, around the March-April timeframe. I also am here representing dozens, actually hundreds of engineers, product managers, designers, and researchers on the Engage team. Really happy to be joined by the people who make it happen in the real world, our friends at EY. So we toss up to Amy.
Hi, everybody. Nice to see you all. Love being with you guys, and I can't wait to see you in person in Orlando. I'm Amy Dolzien. I am a Microsoft MVP for Viva and also for Microsoft 365 Copilot. And I'm happy to share with you a little bit about our journey of how we've been using these products to really build our adoption momentum here within the walls of EY. So thanks for having us.
Yeah, hi, everyone. I am Lee Reed. I am the Global Product Manager for Microsoft Copilot across EY. So that covers everywhere sunshine hits on the earth is where my responsibility begins and ends with Copilot at EY. So we've done a lot of work using Viva Engage. It's a platform of choice for us. And we're really excited to share what we do and have some key learnings that we can share with you here today.
Awesome. And as I mentioned, I'm John Moore. I am an enterprise architect at EY, helping set our strategy for AI and all of our collaborative and digital workplace solutions. And I have the privilege of working with Amy and Lee for the past 3 years at EY, and working with Dan even longer than that as a customer of Viva Engage in my current role and my past roles. And we're seeing some familiar faces even in the chat. So go ahead and drop, all of your questions and comments again in the Q&A. We see our friend Rachel DiMartino. Hello, Rachel. It's good to see
Rachel.
you. And we are going to talk about three main topics today. We've got a beginning section about how Lee and I are leveraging Microsoft Viva Engage live events to drive some of the awareness and information about what is happening in Copilot and how we can best use Copilot. Then we're going to hear from Amy as she shares her community strategy for connecting and collaborating across multiple communities of people who both have Copilot or who are yet to have Copilot. We're trying to bring them into the fold and experience the greatness of Copilot, and how she manages that, as well as building her personal brand and Lee building his personal brand using some of the features in Viva Engage. Then we're going to hear from Dan at the end about some of the new features that we can hope to see soon for Viva Engage to make our lives even easier in these efforts to drive adoption and connect these communities. So sound good? We'll go ahead and dive right into it. So the first section is about some events that Lee and I host called What's New and Next. And I'm a big proponent, I've been a big proponent for years now, of leveraging live events as an IT organization. I feel that, it's really good to put a human face and get out there and present yourself with your stakeholders, with your end users, so that you can demystify some of the technologies that are rolling out and share some of the value that people can realize. We end up in a situation where a lot of times an IT organization could be kind of a faceless entity, right? That just emails you from a shared mailbox about things that are happening to you. And we like to leverage at EY the ability to use live events and communities to share that, we're really on this journey together with this new technology. It's not something that is just happening to you, but you are joining alongside us. We're all working together with the best, the best interest of our organization at the heart of it. And, there's real humans behind these technological changes, right? So one of those events that we host is called What's New and Next in Copilot. And this is something, the brainchild of myself and Lee, where we've talked about how do we get the latest and greatest. There's changes happening all the time with Microsoft 365 Copilot, and it can feel very overwhelming and it's very rapid, the pace of change. So how do we inform all of these people? And to set the stage a little bit, our community at EY that is for Microsoft 365 Copilot, it consists of everyone who has a Copilot license in the firm, which is over 150,000 people at this point. So how do you communicate to over 150,000 people to keep them up to date, get them to, use the features the way that you would like them to use those features, and show them, kind of the art of the possible? And we use, Viva Engage as the vehicle for that. So we've already collected everybody together into a community because, frankly, it supports that kind of a number, 150,000 plus people. So we can get them all in the same area. Now we can leverage that to do announcements and other communications. One of those things is live videos. So the live event is put on by our global enterprise technology product and strategy team. I represent the strategy side of it. Lee represents the product. He's the product manager for Microsoft Copilot. And we use this to basically teach what's coming, do a lot of demos, answer questions and in the chat for, it's an opportunity for the experts to come forward and, kind of put themselves out there to answer questions live. It's very laid back and a casual atmosphere, kind of like this. It's just a live stream, and trying to connect everybody together. The structure that we use is we start out by doing kind of what we did today, right? We set the stage for what to expect, say, yes, we are recording the session. Yes, you will get all the information at the end. We explain that one of the great things about Viva Engage is that we are recording automatically, and the exact same link that they're watching they can just watch it again on demand. So we'll talk a little bit about how we deliver those invitations, but the link doesn't change. And that's very, understandable and easy for people to follow because they can just watch that on demand. Then we get into really rapid fire what's new, and we have kind of bullet points with some of the things we want to talk about. Then we talk about what's next, what's coming in the next month for Microsoft Copilot. Then we pick a couple of different items that we want to deep dive on, and we do a couple of special demos where we call it the deep dive section. We end out with some prompt of the month, something that everybody can take away to go try a special prompt that has a broad use case value that everybody in the firm can use and get some value from. If there's some upcoming events like the Microsoft 365 Community Conference or Microsoft Ignite or other events, we'll share those and try to drive adoption and drive people to go learn more if they want to. And of course, we answer questions all the way throughout. I already mentioned that we do this on Viva Engage, and it's targeting everyone with a license. And we can see a couple of pictures. These are a couple of screenshots from the actual live event. It's very familiar to what you're watching right now, where it's me and Lee along the side with our screens shared. And we've even done a fun holiday theme. This is from our last months. Both Lee and I, we had snow falling in our scenes. We were wearing Santa hats. We decorated the scene a little bit with some lights. So we have fun with it and keep it casual and approachable is kind of the important thing.
And the thing I want to add, John, to that is that the thing about this is a very understandable and accessible format for people. They're used to watching this format on the web, such as you are right now. This is something that people are finding very engaging. Email, we're all inundated by emails. We're all inundated by written content. This is a live group of people that are just sharing information. We're making mistakes. We're saying wrong things. Sometimes the questions come with a stump the chump kind of a feel to it, which is fine because that's the live world. The other thing I wanted to point out is what's new and what's next. This is not driven solely by Microsoft. This is what's coming out in Microsoft Copilot in the context of what EY is allowing to be provided within Copilot. We work in a very different environment of financial services and a restricted sort of environment in some markets. And so there's some things that we have to turn off and turn on. So these are things, the what's new and what's next is in the context of what EY is activating in Copilot, which is a really important point of this because we're speaking just to the EY people. So that's what's really unique about this is it's not a webinar that's available on the web. Then our people go back and they can't access something in Copilot. That's very frustrating. So that's what this really represents to our people.
And hey, John, I got a question. Sorry to interrupt, Lee, but if someone in chat noticed this too. On your previous slide, your production layout is gorgeous, beautiful, and not something that any of us recognize. Give us a little bit of a hint as to
Sure. I've got a slide on this, not too detailed, but we use OBS Studio for our layouts. That's how I lay out those screens and cameras together. And we'll talk about, share a little bit about that in the coming slide. And then Amy will show some of our team's town halls that we do through Viva Engage as well, and what that layout looks like. We've got some good, powerful functionality where we can show multiple people on screen now with town halls and things like that. But yeah, this is a software I use called OBS. It's kind of the standard for like Twitch game streaming, right, out there in the industry. But great question. So the reasons why we use Viva Engage, it's where everybody is. They're already collected into this place. So why not go live within that community? It's large enough. It can handle the scale of 150,000 plus people. The community notifications, we use that. When we go live a few minutes early, and that it rings the bell basically inside of Microsoft Teams for everyone to let them know that this community has gone live. So that's a way we can kind of get people in and make them aware. Like Lee mentioned, it's live Q&A, and that Q&A is going on after the fact, right? So somebody can watch on demand. They can ask a question, even if they're watching it 12 hours later. We'll get notified of a new chat, so we can get in there and basically kind of time shift our live event by having a Q&A after the fact in addition to live. And Lee, do you want to kind of talk about the structure of when we host these and how we choose to schedule them?
So one of the things that we focus on, because we do have a global audience, we focus on Western Europe, on the eastern half of the US. We focus on all of the different areas that are on one side of the globe, and then 12 hours later, John and I come back. Both of us are in the US, but we do a show for Asia Pac, we do Australia, China, Malaysia, all of the different countries in that, and the west coast of the US. So we're very focused on making sure that we do a live session for each of those constituencies. So we schedule accordingly so people can attend live, get their questions answered live, because it's still now, if we just do one show, it's assigning people homework to go in, watch the show, post a question. We get the question several hours later. We answer the question several hours later. It's very important that that it's a live event and that people can interact with us live and say, I had a question about these things. We want to get this question now. And because we're going to a client site, or we're going to answer this within our internal user group. So that's really important to us, is that we do live shows, which Viva Engage offers to us.
Yeah. So that's the 5 W's: who, what, when, where. Let's get into the how real quick. And we've got 3 quick slides on how. Lee and I, this starts out basically when the last one ended. We start planning the next event a month at a time, and we use Loop workspaces for that. So we have a Loop workspace where we add a new page for every single month's show, and that's how we plan out where the slide deck is. We save that to a SharePoint. We put the link right there, so we always have the latest slides ready to go. We have a checklist that you can see on screen here of, hey, John, don't forget to actually schedule the live event. Hey, John, don't forget to send out the invites. So I do things on time because I'm a busy guy. We have another page, which is continuous improvement. And this is where we try to do a post-mortem after the show. What do we want to start doing? What should we stop doing because it didn't go well? Or what is going well and we want to keep doing? So I got a table inside of Loop with start, stop, and continue to make our show just a little bit better every time. We also have answers to common questions. We get the same, it seems like the same 5-6 questions come up every live stream. So we have those answers ready to go so we can paste those in quickly. And then a little bit about where we get the info to talk about what's new and next. We have an internal feature tracker that basically feeds in from the Microsoft roadmap and from the Microsoft Message Center. Those come into a Power App, which is our feature tracker. So we pull items off of there that just came out the past month, are coming out the next month. We also read the What's New blog from the Microsoft Tech community, and we'll drop a link to that in the chat. But we schedule this a week after that, which is very convenient because that blog comes out and we build our slide deck off of that blog post, as well as what's happening out in the Microsoft community. Like there was a video I watched from my friend Daryl Webster on YouTube yesterday about a new feature in Copilot I hadn't seen yet. It went on our list for next week. We're going to do our event next week. So we're constantly in the community, and we encourage you to join the Microsoft Tech community to stay in the know. We send this out using an Outlook invite. So we schedule it in Viva Engage. Then we take that link, we put it into an Outlook invite, and we send it out from a shared mailbox to 150,000 people. And the only change that I make is I don't request replies because I don't want 150,000 accepts and declines. And I don't allow forwarding because it's a private community for people with a license. Those are the only 2 changes that I make to the Outlook calendar invite. And then a little bit about that gear and kind of how it actually gets put together. Again, it's a Viva Engage live event. I turn on external encoding and I use OBS for the presentation. Dan put a link to OBS in the chat. And then we use a Teams meeting to actually pull Lee over to my computer using something called NDI. And then I stitch that together and we go live. And we have several friends, including Amy, who's on the call today, who help answer questions in the feed and kind of support us on the background. Because we go live, there's thousands of people looking at our ugly mugs, and we're trying to scramble and answer questions as we go. and they help.
I think that's an important piece too, John, is that we are pulling in numbers of 10,000 people attending these live events. And so between the two sessions that we're providing that I talked about, so this is a mass audience. There's a lot of people that say, I can't attend this month, but I really enjoy the session. So it's great. They're recording and they see the recording and the summary. And then there's people that are brand new, getting a license, first iteration with Copilot, not knowing what to do. And they join this and they learn a little bit about, wow, this is a really rich ecosystem. I need to get involved with this. So we pull in really large numbers of our people attending these sessions and understanding. And we usually get 6,000 to 7,000 people asking questions all at once. We just can't handle that flood.
Hundreds
so it's lots of people asking questions. Yeah.
It's crazy. And we kind of want to, complete that swing, right? In the golf community, you want to follow through. And our follow through is, what do we do after the event? Before the event, we put a lot of planning into it. We execute the event. Everything kind of goes wild during the event, right? All the Q&A flies around and we actually present. And then we can take a deep breath before, what do we do after? And the after event, what we do is we do a post-event recap for our community. As Lee mentioned, we've got 2 hours that we do this. We do a morning and an evening session, 12 hours apart. And not everybody has 2 hours to watch us ramble on about Microsoft Copilot. So what we do is, because those sessions are recorded, we have the transcript for them in Microsoft Clipchamp. So I download those transcripts. I take those and I take the slide deck. I put them into a Copilot notebook. And then I use the Copilot notebook feature to get an audio overview. So that takes 2 hours of content, shrinks it down to about a 5-minute podcast of what we covered. Then I export that out to my OneDrive and I share it with people through a SharePoint news post. So again, I use Copilot to build a SharePoint page, and it helps me write a blog post of what happened, what was new, what was coming next, what were some of the top questions. We link the recording, we link the 5-minute podcast, the blog text of like what happened with the event, and then every link that we share in the chat throughout, we roll those up into the bottom of that SharePoint page. And then I simply, people are like, TLDR, right? Too long, I didn't read. So at the very end, I put a single slide, what's next and what's new, right next to each other. So people can just kind of read the release notes, if you will. We take that, we post it to Viva Engage as an announcement, again, to keep that conversation going. We make an announcement that's like a in case you missed it type of announcement. And we always publish that within 48 hours. So we do this on Wednesday. I publish the recap on Friday so that people can go into the weekend learning about Copilot, I guess, because they don't have, anything better to do.
And we also go back, and the great thing about Viva Engage and all of this being in one consolidated location is we can go in and we make sure to go and answer every single question, even if it's, I don't know the answer to this, I need to do some research, let me find out. Let's evaluate, because it's really important to say this is the place you can go to and learn about Copilot at EY, so people understand it and they get a sense of, these are people who know, and I need to be able to understand this product because it is moving really, really fast. AI is super hot, obviously. And so that's really, really important that we answer those questions and touch every single person that's asked one. So everybody's included and we answer all the questions. Then we take those questions and that can feed into the next what's new and next, so that we say, we're told we weren't that clear on this point. We're going to illuminate that a little bit more or zoom in on it to answer it more fully. So it really helps to drive content, but also to drive the engagement. And Viva Engage offers all of that to us because it's a consolidated location for all of that information.
Mm-hmm. Great. Well, I think that rounds it out. And Amy is going to take over her screen and talk about how she manages these enormous communities.
Yeah, thank you guys. As a watcher of those sessions, I love them. I answer a lot of questions, but I also enjoy watching you guys interact. I just love how personal it makes technology feel, which is kind of the point of what we do here and like why we want people to feel like they're a part of this journey. So I am Amy, and I've been leading the Copilot deployment for one of the largest regions for EY, the US region. And I'm going to talk to you today about how we are driving Copilot adoption to that, subset of the 150,000 through what I call the 5 C's of community, content, communications, champions, and curriculum. Because it is, there's a lot to do. But the good thing is we've got a great foundation to work from to make all of this knit together in a really neat way. The other thing I wanted to also hit on for you is that I've been in this Engage space a really long time, when it was Yammer, right? And now it's Viva Engage. People from the very beginning have always asked, how do you drive engagement in these communities? And not to be trite or to be cute, but the best way to build engagement is to actually engage with people. And that means you as the community managers, leaders, have to be involved. You have to answer questions. You have to, when somebody raises their hand to answer a question, to ask a question, be there to answer it. And so we'll talk a little bit about that as well. All right. So again, I'm going to talk to you about how we build Copilot adoption through community, curriculum, champions, communications, and content. Starting first with our community. So the community where the what's new in next sessions happen is our larger 150,000 person community. That is great, but if you have deployed if you deployed Copilot at any large organization or even in a small organization, maybe there's some differences in the way you have to turn on certain features or turn off certain features, depending on the region, depending on what the risk profile is of that country, et cetera. So we created, for our purposes, a community just for the US community. And it is not just licensed M365 Copilot users, which is what the main big community is. It's everyone who either could have a license or does have a license. So we have the ability to, for the people who don't have a license yet, they have a place to go to ask questions. They can engage with us. They can learn from us. They can see what they're missing out on if they haven't gotten their license yet. So we have our own US community that we use, and we work together with everybody who's got a license, who's in the US community is also in the larger community. So they get the benefit of seeing it all. This community is also, we have a whole content backdrop to it, because community is one thing, but you need content to drive what you're talking about as well. So we have our very own SharePoint site behind it, which has news and features and a learning series, which is about our curriculum as well, all built into this SharePoint site. Now, could we have made this SharePoint site super fancy and use all kinds of really cool, graphics and whatnot? Sure, but we built it as SharePoint out of the box. And there's so many new features coming to SharePoint, all of the beautiful new templates and whatnot. So we're actually incorporating some of those as well. But what you're seeing here is pretty basic, but still pretty amazing what SharePoint provides for you right out of the box. You don't have to do a whole lot extra to make it really, really powerful, really connected, really full of content that really matters to people. So we've got on our content, we've got our monthly news, because we do our own newsletter every month for our US users. And our learning series is also on this one page. But we've got lots of other pages beyond that. On the curriculum side, so that content, beyond the monthly newsletter, we've got our learning series. In a similar fashion to the What's New and Next, we really try to provide a full curriculum of what people have asked us to learn about. So starting in July of this year, or actually June, we started our learning series, and based on community feedback of what people want to learn about, we build our curriculum from there. So on this learning series, and we have got a page about it every single one of our learning events goes on the SharePoint page with its own recap event page, just like what John was explaining, where, and an example of that is on the right-hand side, where we've got the video of what we covered in that training. We actually use Copilot and Clipchamp to break out the specific chapters within that learning event, so that people, if they just want to watch the 5 minutes about how do you learn how to prompt better, they can watch that 5 minutes and they can link right to that. So we use all of that built into Clipchamp. And then we also provide the slides. So should anybody need to go back and just look at the slides and not watch the video, they can. And then we also provide a curated list of either the links that we shared in that event, the Q&A, the FAQ that we did, anything that's relevant to that particular event, and also a link to our overall references. All of that is also on each one of those pages. So no matter where you land in the curriculum, you've got references to either past events, new events, things that are relevant to that thing, as well as the entire event run if you want to watch it. The team that I work with, there's just a small group of us, and the women I work with are absolutely amazing. They help us make this happen. So I'm just going to give a shout out now to Jenny and Cecilia, because oh my God, they're amazing. And they help run and create this whole thing. All right. And then, as John mentioned, we use town halls for our events. We don't use the Viva Engage live event because, and this is just an example of how the town hall looks. Like you can see John and I are both on the screen together. Great. Our names are there. Fantastic. If we had more presenters, there would be more presenters. But we, in the US, we have a need to give people what's called CE or CPE credit. And in order to do that, we have to track who watched, who was there, who attended, and for how long, in order to grant that credit to our practitioners. And that is not possible, was not possible in Viva Engage in the big live events. So we had to move to this town hall idea using using town hall so that we can get the full list of who attended for how long, so that we can submit that to our learning team so they can get full credit for it. So this is just an example of one of, we'll do this is the most recent one that we did in December. We didn't have the fun little, snowing backgrounds. John, you couldn't make that happen for us in this case. I'm just kidding. We just had the two of us, and we were talking about the power of prompting and Copilot in PowerPoint, which was a really big, important thing that people needed to know about. Back into our community, like going back to our champions. So our community is powered by our champions and by our people who are there, our colleagues. But we actually invite a champion. We have a whole, hundreds of self-identified champions that love to help us with this deployment to our thousands and thousands of people. And we actually invite one of them, who we don't make them an admin of the community full-time. That's way too much responsibility. They've got day jobs. We invite them to be an admin for a day, where they're able to post an announcement about their, what we call the hashtag US Copilot use case of the week, or UCOW. And then that hashtag allows us to capture all of the use cases that people have posted. And the engagement we get on those it's just amazing. The people are like, that is such a great idea. Have you tried this? What about this other idea? Did you think about that? And we find our new champions sometimes in those threads and those back and forths. But yeah, we use our champions. That's just one way that our champions are involved, but that is a great way to show for us how they're engaged and how they engage the rest of the community. So it isn't just Amy posting all the time, or Jenny posting all the time, or Cecilia. It is the community talking to each other. Again, as John mentioned at the top, we're all doing this together at the same time. We are learning this together. We are a community. Let's do it together. So shout out to our champions who help us with this. Going on to the communications part, we do have the newsletter that we send, and all of those get posted as announcements in our community. The learning series gets posted as an announcement in the community of, what we covered in that latest thing. But in addition to that, we have a site for our leadership and sponsors we've got 5 service lines within EY, and each one of them wants to measure their Copilot adoption in their own way. And so we have built out a series of metrics packs and newsletters that we send to the leadership every month as well about how their adoption is going. We use the Viva Insights, dashboards for all the metrics, the feeds and speeds around how Copilot is going. We share all that with our leaders. So every month, the leaders, they do get our regular newsletter, but they also get their own special newsletter with a link to all of their metrics and information that's broken down for their specific service line. So they don't have to fight through trying to, navigate around Power BI to figure out which levers they have to pull to show what they want. We've broken that down for them. We give them their own metrics pack. They can show month over month how things are going, week over week. And then at the bottom, we don't just fill it with the metrics. Of course, we do that. We also tell them a little bit about what's new and what's next and what's coming, what they should know about, to give them a little special push. And then also just reminding them what the best practices and tips and tricks are. Another great thing that we get out of Viva Engage are the community metrics. Now, I can't show you the exact numbers because I'm not allowed to share that level of detail, but you can see the pretty graphics of what we do. We have really great engagement, and the community experts that we've got, and we've got tons and tons of people that are constantly posting, lots of likes, lots of back and forths. This big giant leap here is because we didn't actually have this community until we launched it, and then we launched it, and then it just kind of took off. It's trailing here because, we just had the holidays. I don't know about the rest of you, but I didn't work. So I wasn't expecting a whole lot of activity in our community at that time. What I also love about the community metrics is it also provides you with the top questions that have been asked or top conversations, so you can get a feel for what's going on in your community, what's not been answered, or what needs attention. All that kind of stuff is also in those metrics, and we use that as well. So really great things there. And we are using the basics of Viva Engage, like nothing special. This is what's built, what we got out of Viva Engage, the community metrics here.
Hey, Amy, there was a good question. It's kind of timely.
Sure.
Are there some top metrics that your team looks at to see if the community is achieving the goals that you want and is healthy and thriving?
Yeah. So I'm trying to get back to that slide. So what I like to see is that we have reached 95% of our community. That's why I left at least that metric showing, because that shows that we're reaching our people, and that there are very few unanswered posts. I love seeing the fact that on this bottom chart here, that the responses outnumber the posts. So that also shows us that the community is healthy, that they're talking, that we're not just talking at them, that they're coming back to us, they're answering each other's questions, they're talking. So those are the two things that I really focus in on. We don't really use it as a KPI for this. It's just it is something that we just love to be able to see that is actually working. So if that helps, that's the kind of stuff that we tend to look at from the community side. We measure a whole bunch of other stuff related to Copilot. This is specific to our community.
Thank you.
Yeah. All right. Going now to the town hall, why we use town halls again, and it's also related to metrics, is in the town hall, there's this Hive metric thing where you can see information about how long people watched the thing on average. Like we had, I can't tell you how many thousands of people watching this thing, and they stayed engaged for an average of 47 minutes. Like that, to me, that's amazing. That shows that our people are getting a lot of value out of this, not just, beyond our surveys and things that we can get from people. Empirically, I'm seeing it. Also, I also love the fact that it showed us that this was viewed in 1,700 cities. I guess that means people were obviously at home, perhaps, in their own houses looking at things, but that's a lot of cities to stay, to be interested, and really again, I just really love the fact that they stayed engaged on an average for 47 minutes. I think that's pretty great for an hour. It was an hour-long session. It looks like an hour and 14 minutes because we joined 15 minutes in advance to make sure we've got our ducks in a row, so to speak. So really great. I love that these metrics are here too, so you can see these over time in your own town halls if you do these. The other great thing about town halls that we also need for what we do is we've got attendance records. As I mentioned, we need this for our CE or CPE credits. We've got a huge FAQ report as well that you can actually download and interact with in Copilot and ask it like what was unanswered or what were the top things that people mentioned. All of that stuff comes out of the town hall experience. So hugely valuable and really beneficial for us. And you can actually use the Excel agent mode to build some pretty graphics and stuff. Anyway, it's a very cool experience. Lots of data, lots of stuff that you can get out of using town halls. Highly recommend you check that out if you need to do some large events for what you're doing in your deployments. And then finally, I just wanted to kind of wrap up with, or at least talk a little bit about the fact that we do have something that maybe some of you have heard about called the community agent. It's a Copilot agent that's built into our Viva Engage community. We put it only in the US community. It isn't on the larger community yet. We're testing it in our US community. It's not autonomous. It doesn't have the ability to just answer people's questions. We could turn that on to say, yeah, go ahead, Mr. Agent, go answer our people's questions for us. We don't want to do that. But because we want to have control over what it's saying and making sure that it's actually answering the question the right way. So this is just an example of a question that was asked, Lee's response to it. And then if we chose to, we could have used some of the bullet points and things from the community agent's response, which is showing on the right. If I approved that answer would go right into underneath Lee's response. But I can also just kind of edit it as well and add my own bits to it. So I just wanted to show you that is another way that when you're trying to manage a community of multiple thousands of people, having an agent to help you answer some of those questions can be really helpful. Personally, I don't recommend just turning it on and letting it take action on your behalf for many reasons. Most of them, authenticity, that you still want to be you in your community because it is about people, reaching out to people. And where we can use AI to help augment that humanity, that's where we should be doing it. And that's how we use the community agent. Okay. Finally, on the side of Viva Engage again, I use, and so does Lee, and so does John, often storyline posts where I post about the event that we just had, a learning event and things that we got out of it. I did a big storyline post around a particular service line that did a really great job with their adoption and deployment last year. I use these things, I use my storyline posts as a way to connect beyond the community for the people who maybe are not in the US community, because I've got friends all over the world. So I use them in my storyline posts in that way to make sure that the wider community also has awareness of what we're doing and can connect with that information as well. So, and yes, of course, it does help with personal brand building as well, but that's less important to me. What's more important to me is that people are getting the information that they need to get done what needs to get done. So there you go.
I'm a big follower of Amy and Lee's storylines. And Amy, she shares stories about her travels around the United States and all the people she gets to connect with, and makes us all, or lets us all live vicariously through her travels and visiting places. And Lee, he shares very practical tips and tricks in video format. And we kind of think of it as like there's meals and there's snacks, right? A meal is like an hour presentation, a big webinar, and a snack is like, hey, did you know that you could do this one cool thing? I'm going to show you how to do it in like 5 minutes. I didn't know, Lee, if you wanted to mention something about your videos and what you choose to post on your storyline.
I think that's a really important piece too, that when you're presenting like this and you're presenting to a group of really focused people that want to learn, your intellectual currency is really what they're coming to watch and coming to subscribe to. So that is, you really gain that using storylines, publishing information, consistent publishing, constant publishing, sharing what you know, and sharing even some of the things that you failed with, to say, whoops, I tried this, but it didn't do what I thought it would do. So I'm going to investigate that. You give that, here's my errors, here's my successes over to people, and you gain that intellectual curiosity from people, and that'll transfer into the what's new and next in our case, and into the sessions that Amy supports and offers. And it gives people that sense of authenticity. These people are helping. These people are here to help. So that's really what I see storylines doing. The other thing is, when people ask questions within our live sessions, I find myself frequently pointing back to my storyline or to Amy's storyline and say, go over there. We've already answered that in video form or in a narrative form or a job aid or something like that. So it's being all contained in one location really adds a lot of value.
Awesome. Well, I think with that, let's turn it over to Dan to share some of the new amazing features that will, make things even more streamlined for us, hopefully in the future.
Absolutely.
We could put our hands on in Orlando in a couple months.
Excellent. Thanks so much, John. Appreciate it.
Yeah.
And I've got a couple of slides to share with you to, as John suggested, keep you updated on what's possible today and what's possible over the next few months to drive Copilot adoption with these kinds of features that our friends at EY just showed. And first of all, I'd love, on behalf of Microsoft, to thank John and Lee and Amy for their incredible support with this content. I don't know about you, but I freaking have loved what they've been sharing. I've been madly taking notes, and I'm going to be begging them for the decks. Really appreciate your time and energy preparing for and delivering this. And just the generosity of sharing your insights that are so real world, so practical, with me as a product owner and with the broader community. So thank you so much. So let's talk a little bit about what's now and what's coming. I'm going to start with a feature, that is now, that is available to all Microsoft 365 customers. And you can think of this as you can think of the Copilot adoption community as kind of an out-of-box version of what Amy and John and Lee have put together through their blood, sweat, and tears at EY. Oops, I'm sorry, my screen's being a little bit weird on me here. So I'm gonna go through this pretty quickly because there are several things I do want to share with you. But first, I want to acknowledge that that change really is a conversation. When you're trying to change human behavior, when you're trying to drive adoption, when you're trying to drive technology adoption particularly, you have to establish that conversation between the people who are driving the change and the people who are going to be the change. And that's where Engage really steps up to help people get from that technical readiness state, we want to use AI, to the actual human change of driving adoption. And the point of Engage and why we're here today and why EY is able to use Engage to support its adoption efforts is because it really is about connecting people across the organization, outside of and across working groups, from sea to shining sea, or wherever the sun is hitting on the globe, as Lee said. And Engage is really focused on activating people to contribute their best selves. So they're not just sitting there receiving, they're contributing to the broader efforts and the change that you're driving. And we do that with a couple of key scenarios. Communications, helping you actually communicate to people in an engaging and modern way, building communities, and sharing knowledge. And you've seen examples of how EY is using all of these outcomes of our product to support their desired business outcome, which is AI and Copilot adoption. The Copilot adoption community is an out-of-box community. You can think of it like a template that is available to all tenants. You don't have to be premium, so to speak. You just have to have Engage enabled, which is on by default. And what it does is it creates a place, it creates that destination where you can bring people together to share knowledge, to share news and information about Copilot. And in addition to it just being a template, it has some superpowers that we'll see that are available only to the Copilot adoption community that sort of come with it as a template. So Copilot adoption community is using Engage to create that space and giving you content that's ready to share out to your community. So, you know, if you're starting from a blank slate, we give you pre-populated content that you can edit if you want and post and send out as posts or announcements to your community members or your broader organization. It also supports a really great knowledge feature called related questions. And what related questions are, it builds upon Engage's question post type, is an AI-powered way to connect you with the answer before you're even done asking the question. And this is similar to what many of us have experienced on certain websites, where you go and you start asking a question and it tells you, here is a place where you can probably find the answer that already exists. So related questions looks at the body of questions in the Copilot adoption community to see if that answer is already there. And our data is amazing on this feature. Getting close to half of all questions that users start to type, they find the answer before they're even finished in a modestly healthy community. So this is a very, very powerful feature. It's part of our premium feature set for broader communities, but you get it as part of the Copilot adoption community as well. Let's see here. And this community is driving significant impact for our customers. We see that customers with a Copilot adoption community have 30% greater activity on Copilot on a monthly active user basis. So that's a really big return on investment for setting up this community and managing content and knowledge within that community. I'm going to skip this slide and go straight to a quick video demo. So I'm going to put myself on mute here and let the video speak to the feature.
Scaling Microsoft 365 Copilot with Viva Engage Copilot Adoption Community, your central hub to turn curiosity into confident, everyday Copilot use. This out-of-the-box community is available to all Viva Engage tenants. With a single click, you can create a brand new Copilot adoption community or choose to convert an existing community into an official Copilot adoption community. You can layer these features onto an existing community. Once you start, you'll see an easy-to-follow checklist designed to guide your setup process. Start by pinning helpful resources so everyone can find the "How do I" answers fast. Suggested members helps you add the right audience, early adopters, licensed users, and teams leaning into AI-driven work. Driving engagement isn't easy, but with suggested content, it becomes effortless. This feature is the heartbeat of your Copilot adoption community. Every week, Microsoft curates ready-to-use posts aligned to new Copilot features, best practices, and trending topics. Admins can instantly publish these or make edits and schedule posts as needed. You can access suggested content by selecting the menu in the Copilot adoption community. Marking an expert in a community helps new users gain confidence and learn faster through peer support. Community analytics provides straightforward insights into engagement, tracking trends, identifying top posts, and assess community health quickly. With analytics, your Copilot rollout becomes a measurable and scalable process. Get started with your Copilot adoption community in Viva Engage today. Scaling Microsoft 365.
All right, so that's the Copilot adoption community, again, available to all customers, an out-of-box template to bring people together, share knowledge and information, and take advantage of advanced Viva Engage features like related questions. Additionally, as Amy mentioned, EY has had early access to agents in communities, and this feature is coming to everyone this spring. The roadmap ID is there on the slide. I'll drop a link into the chat as soon as I'm done talking. And agents, someone asked about the flow of agents. At the early release of agents, what agents do is they look for any question that has not yet been answered, and the agent does the work of proposing a great answer, including citations and details. What we see is that many customers, especially early in their adoption, don't let the agent just answer the question and publish the answer, but rather stage the answer so that an expert can vet it and the human stays in the loop. I think that's a great practice, particularly where you're trying to intersect technology information like Copilot with what your business actually does and its policies. But as someone who uses the agent inside of communities at Microsoft, I can tell you the quality of answers it creates are generally much higher than the answers that I would actually have composed. Not necessarily more accurate, but with a lot richer detail. So I'm a big fan of this feature, and I think you'll enjoy that. This particular feature of using an agent in communities is part of a Copilot license. So that's part of Microsoft 365 Copilot license. Now, another feature that's coming out very, very soon, if I can get my slides to advance, is communities in teams. We've talked about this for about a year now, and it's coming out this spring. Again, the roadmap is there. And everything you know and love about communities and in Engage is going to be natively available in your chat app right alongside your individual chats, your group chats, your meeting chats, and your channels. What that means is, in this case, your Copilot adoption community and your Copilot adoption efforts are right there in Teams where people are working every day. So I can get to my Microsoft 365 Copilot community right where I also get to my meetings and chats. That keeps it in front of my face and it keeps me aware of what's happening in the community, because just like any other chat, when there's new information, it turns bold. It tells me there's something unread and I can go check it out. I no longer have to think, oh, I have to go to this completely different app to find this information. So communities will be part of Teams as a native experience. They will still be in Engage. Nothing changes on the Engage side. But if you're a Teams user, to me, this is a game changer. I honestly open the Engage app probably 15% as often as I did a year ago, because most of the time I'm just using it straight inside of Teams. So this is a very cool feature that we look forward to shipping this spring. Also this spring, we are reimagining events in Viva Engage. And the kinds of things that John and Lee and Amy have done with events are going to be easier than ever in fully integrated experiences that bring the power of Teams, meetings, webinars, and town halls into Engage. So events, as you've seen with EY, are a great way to drive engagement and to share information and knowledge at scale. We have a lot of ways we use them at Microsoft. The most pertinent to this discussion is the third, which is training and development. We have numerous communities that are supporting various flavors of AI learning and development inside of Microsoft. And this new feature really changes the game for them. Before I talk you about the feature, I'd like to talk about why we see it's helpful to host events and Engage at all. Because you can go to Teams Calendar, you can go to Outlook Calendar and create a meeting or a town hall. Why do it in Engage? This is a simple way to sort of distill what John and Lee particularly shared about what they're doing using events in a community. First, it gives you a destination. It gives you a place where people can go to engage with you and your experts, your presenters, and your content before, during, and after the event. Every event has a page. It has a URL you can send people to. Second, Engage supports ways to drive demand and awareness for your event, to keep people awake, in touch with what events you're hosting, and to reach people not just in Engage, but across Teams and Outlook. Third, that community events tab becomes like a calendar. John showed it. I'll show it to you again in a moment. But it's an events listing where you can point people and they can see these are the events that happened that I missed. These are the events that are coming up. So there's that findability of a calendar-like experience. Perhaps more importantly, you're able to connect people across multiple events. Instead of events just being standalone entities and calendars, you can build a community based on those events, or a community that those events support the community's broader goals. And last but not least, when you host events and Engage, they become much more useful as assets in the long term. Someone earlier in the chat asked if events and Engage get deleted after 60 or 90 days. And the answer is no, they get deleted when you decide to. And that means those assets get preserved. And they're part of a community whose membership can grow and change over time. If someone joins your company 3 months later, they can benefit from the information and the events in a community, whereas they will never have access to calendar events that happened 3 months ago. And finally, the information in events goes into Work IQ, which then allows that information to be part of enterprise search and Copilot across the organization. Said simply, when you share something in an event, it is now available to people who don't even know the event ever existed. It'll show up in Copilot responses. It'll show up in enterprise search. And so that knowledge, the impact of what you're sharing suddenly becomes much, much greater. So we're delivering a whole bunch of new capabilities to make these events easier than ever. I'm gonna put this slide up here very briefly because we don't have time to talk about all of it. And I'm gonna show you to you in demos. I'll put this list in the slide. The bottom line of what we're releasing this spring is the ability to host not just broadcasts, which Engage has been able to do for years, but also meeting experiences in communities. So if you want something that feels more like a Teams meeting where everyone can be on camera and share and it's more interactive and ad hoc, you'll be able to host those experiences in communities as well. So there will be 3 types of events you can host. You can host a broadcast, you can host a meeting, and you can host a non-real-time event, which is like a Reddit Ask Me Anything, a text-based Q&A event. So you'll be able to host any type of event from any community, any storyline as well. So Amy might even start creating her own expert series. And those events will have event pages and an advanced feed of Q&A and conversation that give you the ability to do things that customers have been asking for a long time, such as supporting anonymous questions, supporting moderation in an event. So it's a more advanced feed of content in the event. Probably the easiest way to show you this is a demo, so I know we're running out of time. I actually think what we'll do is I will share a link to this video rather than hold everyone here since we're at the bottom of the hour. I'll share a link to the demo and get it to you. But imagine everything that John and Lee and Amy have been talking about being a native capability of communities. We really look forward to shipping this to you this spring and sharing the information with you at the Microsoft 365 conference. I'll work on getting a link put together before we're even done with Q&A, but I'll hand it back to Ella for now.
Thank you, Dan. I can't wait for that stuff.
Thank you, Dan. Thank you so much, everyone. And to everyone watching on the live stream, thank you so much for joining us. We're about to wrap up the stream shortly. So make sure that you secure your spot at the Microsoft 365 Community Conference, which we're flashing on the screen right now. There you go. That's our registration page. That's taking place on April 21st to 23rd in vibrant Orlando, Florida. Heads up. Register by January 19th and apply the discount code N for Nancy 300 and 300 to enjoy $300 in savings. If you'd like to participate in the Q&A live with Dan, Amy, Lee, and John, please be sure that you join us using the link provided in your calendar invite. Thank you so much. Bye for those on the live stream.